Welcome to the Everyday GSD podcast. Today's special guest is my friend Monte.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Monte, thanks for coming, man.
Absolutely.
I know this was an easy trip because you came in all the way from lovely Las Vegas.
Would not miss it. I appreciate the invite.
And thank you for coming in. I know you're an extremely busy man, and you've got some cool stories to tell. Obviously, I wanted you on the show personally because you are a true definition of everyday GSD, which means, as you know, every day get shit done. And you've been doing that since you were 17 years old as a military person, as well as getting out of the military 10 plus years later, going into the business world and doing a whole bunch of shit out there. And I think you've got some great stories. You physically challenge yourself all the time, whether it's jiu-jitsu or when you were younger doing extreme running and all of that good stuff that we're going to talk about today. And hopefully the listeners get to learn some cool shit about you. And when they leave watching this, or if they're listening to it out there, they're going to say, you know what, I want to be like fucking Monte.
Well, I appreciate it. I never sit at home thinking anybody wants to hear anything I had to say, but you and I have a lot of great conversations, so
yes.
We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, so I'm excited. So let's start off with you joined the military at 17 years old. You woke up one day and said, hey, I'm 17, I want to go in the military, or,
Yeah.
or what happened? What made you want to go in the military?
Long before I was 17,
okay.
I made that decision, and I used to be embarrassed to tell the story, but I don't even care anymore. It was Rambo: First Blood.
Yes.
I watched that movie when I was 9 or 10 years old, and I'm like, this guy is a badass. He's unbelievable. I was, as a kid, I was into ninjas and them sneaking around and throwing stars, but that wasn't really real. But Rambo represented an actual type of person that existed in this world. An
Delta
Army
Force,
special, Special Forces Green Beret. Yeah. And I watched that movie, him sneaking around the woods, fucking dudes up and blending into the
I used to have that
background.
cool knife that he had.
I had that when I was like way before I should have had it. My parents were kind of lacking in that department. And so I had a Red Ryder BB gun. I had my Rambo knife with the compass in the handle, and I'd paint my face up and crawl around in the woods when I was 9, 10 years old. And by the time I was 17, it was a done deal. I was definitely enlisting in the Army, and that's what I did.
Okay. So 17 years old. And again, I think we've talked about this before in the military, whether it's the Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard. If you're not 18 years old, 18, you can go in on your own. For those of you who don't know that, 17 years old, you might need a signature to allow you to kind of go out because you're not technically an adult yet.
Interesting story behind that.
Okay.
My parents divorced when I was 2, and I kind of bounced back and forth between the two houses.
And this is in Indiana? Or?
Indiana, yeah.
Okay.
So I initially grew up in Northwest Indiana, which is known as the region.
Oh, the region, yeah.
Yeah, we consider ourselves a suburb of Chicago. Almost.
Okay.
We call ourselves region rats. Nobody else does.
Okay.
And
good place for a gun. Little red.
Yeah, not so much. My dad lived in Terre Haute, Indiana. So living with my mom, I went down to my dad's. I was in high school at the time, and that's when I enlisted in the Army. And the recruiter said, well, you have to have your parents' signature. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. Went home, to my dad. He signed it right away. I went to the recruiters, and they're like, wait a minute. Which one of your parents has legal custody over you?
You're like, I don't fucking know.
I don't know, man. I'm 17 years old. Turns out it was my mom. So had to get her to sign it. And you would think like a mother and her son going into the military would be a kind of a big thing. Like, are you sure you want to do this? And no son of mine's going to go off to... Yeah, no, she had no problem either. Signed right under my dad's signature, and it was good to go. And turned 18 and went into military police school, actually. Basic training, military police school.
Okay, so you go in the Army, so you go to basic training, you complete basic training, because you pretty smooth operation for you. Because you were an athlete also, I always say an extreme athlete. And I got some notes here so I don't fuck some of your stuff up. You were an endurance athlete.
Yeah.
So physically fit, obviously.
I just learned early on that I could pretty much go forever. Whatever it was, swimming, biking, running, I could just go and literally not get tired and just go. So I think I started with this.
Is that mental?
There's a lot mental to it.
Right.
I think there's some physical.
Well, yeah.
Like Lance Armstrong, I mean, he's just physically built to do endurance sports.
Right.
And so when I was 15,
okay,
I qualified for the National Triathlon in Hilton Head, South Carolina.
Okay.
So I'd mastered, I'd been on the swim team. I'd mastered the bike, and I was already just a crazy good runner,
right?
From cross country and all that. So I show up to the nationals, had to qualify for it. Got there, and I was in the 15 to 19 age group division.
Okay.
So they're age group 15 to 19, 20 to whatever. And then there's the pro division as well. Back then it was Mike Pigg. It was Dave Allen. I forget some of the names.
All names, I have no idea.
Nobody would, except for one, another 15-year-old racing in this race named Lance Armstrong.
Oh, so okay, here we go.
I'm 15.
Now I'm listening.
Yeah, he's 15, and I'm in the age group division, and he's up there running with the pros and beating a lot of them. And I don't know what it was. I came home from that race, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I'm training all day long. I'm trying to crush it out here, and I'm barely competing at the age group, and here's this other kid. He's winning against pros.
Killing it.
Well, now we know he was very, very special and went on to win 7 Tour de France's. But yeah, so I was.
And there's some controversy behind him.
Yeah, there shouldn't be.
But yeah, I was just saying, but I mean, with everyone, right?
The only controversy is he's a lot like people that you and I know, or maybe people that we look at in the mirror every day, and that is, I'm going to win. Yeah. If you try to stop me from winning, I'm going to fuck you up. Right. And he went a little too far, I think, with that. Yeah. In the people trying to stop him when he was clearly doing something wrong, and he destroyed some lives through that. But when it comes to the actual physicality and him winning races,
beast.
Go to any of those races that he won, and I think they said you have to go to 19th place before you can find somebody that maybe didn't dope. Like, everybody was doing it. Right. So he won those races. Right. They can't take that from him.
Yeah. And I don't think anyone really did.
Yeah.
I mean, they did, but whenever you say his name, it's not like, oh, he should have never won. Like, he was a beast.
Yeah. Yeah. So the interesting statistic is there's still only one American who has ever won the Tour de France, and that's Greg LeMond. Even though Lance Armstrong won 7, even though Floyd Landis won 1 or 2, his were stripped as well. And he's the one that kind of blew the whole lid off the Lance Armstrong.
So when you were 17, 15, 16 years old doing endurance racing, is that what you call it?
Yeah.
So how far would you run or ride for?
Training wise or racing?
Both.
Man, I had a crazy schedule. We lived in the country in Terre Haute. This is by the time I moved to my dad's, and I was able to get on the varsity high school swim team, even though I was still in junior high.
Okay.
And
so fucking crushing it from day one.
Well, and I didn't even realize what that meant. I just knew
you were.
I made the team, and my dad was a dad, he liked to sleep in, he liked to drink and whatever. And so I would literally, as a 14-year-old, have to set my alarm, wake up, get everything ready for swim practice in school, go wake him up. He would have me drive to school because he was too tired.
And how old were you?
14,
yeah,
15 years old. Learned how to drive a stick shift in his Ford Ranger. Yeah. So I'd go to swim practice in the morning. I'd take a bus from the high school to the junior high, do my schooling, junior high, back to high school, do evening swim practice. And then my dad would show up in his truck with my bike in the back. He'd drop my bike off, and I'd ride, I think it was 10 miles home. Yeah. Do my homework, and then I'd head out, and he would follow me in the car on the backcountry roads for my run. So I'd be running down the road with him, the headlights behind me so that no cars ran over me. Right. And I'd do my, 5-mile run at night, and then wash, rinse, repeat. And that was kind of my schedule as I was training for triathlons.
So you have a 19-year-old son now, is correct? 19?
Yep. Just finished his freshman year at IU.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Athletic, similar like
so his
story as you, where he goes out and does this crazy shit. Or
his mother,
take that from his dad, or
his mother makes me look like I don't have any endurance. So she was a swimmer, but she was like state champion level swimmer. Was recruited by tons of colleges. Ended up not going swimming in college because she'd been swimming since she was 5. So he has that natural ability of endurance in him, right? But he was never interested in any of those. We did the normal parent thing. Yeah, soccer, swimming, I call it bobblehead football, all that. Yeah. The one thing that stuck, and I think I helped influence this, was martial arts. So we started and
we're gonna get into martial arts with you here in a little bit. Yep. So you're 17 years old. You get your parents' signature. You're gonna go in the military, and you go in the Army. A lot of people go in the Army. It's a huge branch service. But you decide while you're in the Army, you want to do just more than just running around and doing Army shit. You want to go to another level. So at what point in the Army did you decide, because you went in as military police, right?
Yeah, enlisted military police.
So how long were you in the military police for?
4 years.
Anything go on during those 4 years that are worth a story or two?
No, nothing at all. I mean,
Okay.
I
a lot of training.
I went to my unit. It was so I went to my unit. I was training at my unit, and through that, I got the GI Bill. So I decided to start going to college.
Okay.
Once I started going to college, I then got scholarships through the Reserve Officer Training Corps. And so
ROTC?
Yeah, while I was doing my military police time, I was going through college, and with those scholarships, I was able to graduate college and get my commission. So I was a commission officer after that.
So then you became a commission officer, and then you're like, you know what? I want to go in the 101st Airborne, or
you don't decide where you want to go.
Exactly.
Or
right.
what you want to do.
Right. So they said you're going to be a helicopter pilot.
So as I was approaching the mid-senior year, one of the ROTC instructors, I think I came in just to like pick up assignments or whatever. And he's like, "Hey, Denehie, get in here." And he goes, "You have an hour?" I'm like, "I got all day." And he goes, "Here, take this test." I had no idea what it was.
Right.
Weirdest fucking test I've ever seen. Like the first 2 sections were all psychological shit. One of the questions I'll never forget.
And they said you're fucking crazy.
Crazy enough to fly helicopters. One of the questions was literally, would you rather pop a blister on your buddy's foot or go to the dentist?
Pop a blister on your buddy's foot or go to the dentist. Well, I like going to the dentist. And I don't care if my buddy needed me to pop a blister on his foot. It's a fucking weird question.
I don't know what the answer is, or even if there is a right answer. Maybe it takes all these weird answers and says this is the type of person you are. But other ones were.
So do you remember what you put?
Motorcycles. Pop a blister.
So you pop a blister. Next thing you know, you're a fucking helicopter pilot.
That's it. That's all it took. That one question. Yeah, it was other questions like, do you like to ride motorcycles? So you could tell they're assessing like level of aggression and adventure and things like that. The last couple sections I was starting to figure out because it would show the horizon, a picture of the horizon, and then it would be canted one way or another, and it would say, if you were in an aircraft, which direction would you be turning? Kind of shit like that.
Okay.
And then a couple weeks later, this Captain Mushki, amazing man, one of my main mentors.
Still alive today, do you know?
I assume so. I haven't heard that he's not. I usually hear things like that. Amazing mentor. He called me in. He's like, you scored extremely well on this test. You're going to put aviation as your first choice for your career.
Now, were you intending to go into aviation prior to that?
Never even thought about it.
Because you were digging Rambo, but you're like,
you are so ingrained in the Army, especially ROTC, that you got to be infantry. The only people are infantry. Generals are infantry. All the badasses are infantry. So I was already plotting out my infantry training, my ranger school and all that. And he's like, you got to put aviation first. I'm like, nah, I'm going to be infantry. He's like, you're an idiot. You can go fly helicopters. And thank God he, took me down that path.
Yeah.
I put it first and somehow got aviation.
So how long is I'll say in the Army, helicopter school, pilot school?
Yeah, helicopter school. It's broken up into multiple phases. IERW, initial entry rotary wing training.
Okay.
Is your first phase. That was about 17 weeks. And then you go from that into instrument training, basic combat skills, advanced combat skills, night training. And then if you're lucky enough, you get an advanced aircraft, which I got the Kiowar Warrior.
Say that again?
Kiowar Warrior.
Kiowar Warrior.
It's the OH-58 Delta model. And they give them all Indian names except for the Cobra. I can ask you if you know why on that one. But, we got the Apache.
No, but I don't know why. But tell me why the Cobra is.
Well, so the Army.
And my producer back there, Justin's saying, don't swerve your chair if you can help it, because he's going to have to edit you from moving around
I told him I fidget a lot.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Hey,
that's the helicopter.
Sorry, Mr. Producer. Yeah. Like, I don't normally sit
Justin's
still.
like, what the fuck's going on?
I don't normally sit still.
Okay, so why Cobra?
So the Army, their naming convention was always Indian names, as you can tell. Like the Huey was this is a hard one. The UH-1H is the...
Oh, you're quizzing me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were telling the audience.
No.
Oh, no, I've got you got to keep rolling. I've got no idea.
Iroquois.
Okay.
So, like I said, Kiowa, Apache, Comanche.
Yes.
Well, that's because the Army put out the bid for, we need this type of helicopter. And then everybody, designs what they think they want and gives it to the Army and they name it. But Bell Helicopter actually came to the Army and said, we have this helicopter that we think you could use, and it was the Cobra. So the Cobra came into service, I think, around Vietnam, and flew with looks like a news helicopter, the Bell 206.
Okay.
They flew together. They called them pink teams.
Okay.
So the white was the recon, the red was the attack.
Okay.
And they flew in combination that way. Recon would find the target.
So this is the helicopter you're flying?
No.
No.
It's just interesting story because it's
Yeah.
a Cobra and
Yeah,
not anything
not
else.
any of the other
But
names.
they did take those 2 helicopters, the mission combined them, and that's what my helicopter became, was a single aircraft to do the reconnaissance and the attack mission.
Okay, so and the name of your helicopter unit was,
So
or the name of the helicopter? I'm sorry,
Kiowa Warrior.
Kiowa Warrior. I think that sounds pretty badass.
Yeah, so you had the Huey. Everyone knows the Huey, the
Yeah.
classic Vietnam era. That's a UH-1H.
Right.
Mine was the OH-58D. So UH, utility helicopter, OH, observation helicopter,
And then
AH, attack helicopter.
so you're now a helicopter pilot, and you go to 82nd Airborne.
So I
after
went to
that?
the 101st Airborne first.
Okay.
So arrived there, the OH-58 Delta, the Kiowa, was brand new at the time. Well, not brand new. It was being fielded into conventional units
Okay.
at the time. So when I arrived at the 101st, I was in the 17th Cavalry Regiment.
Okay.
And so we wore our Stetsons and spurs around, but we didn't have any aircraft when I arrived there. And my job was to first fill the unit with the helicopters, then get the pilots and get them all trained up, mission ready for that. Now, so here I am, fresh out of college, flight school. I arrive at the 101st Airborne, and I'm in charge, motherfucker. I'm Lieutenant Denehie. I'm in charge. One of my first missions was go down to Texas. Fort Hood, I think, is where we picked up the aircraft. Get some pilots, get some crew chiefs, fly down there. You're going to sign for the helicopters. You're going to fly them
You're
back
signing
here.
for them.
I'm signing for these, I don't know, $4 million copy helicopters, I think.
Justin shaking his head. You're just signing for $1 million pieces of property.
24-year-old just signing for shit. So
Yeah.
we fly commercial down there. I walk up to the car rental counter, military ID, Lieutenant Denehie, here to pick up a vehicle. And she goes, you have to be 25 to rent a car?
Oh, shit. So you can't get a rental car, but you're picking up helicopters.
I'm like, but I'm in charge. So, so I had to call one of my pilots up. I'm like, Jones, I need you to sign for this rental car. He's like, not old enough, huh, sir? I'm like, shut up, just sign for this.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That is.
So we fielded the unit, and
Yeah.
that's where I did my platoon lead time in the cavalry.
Okay. So you also 82nd Airborne, went to jump school, and you were a jumpmaster too. So again, going back to getting shit done, you could have just went in and kept it as simple as possible, but you decide, I want to fly helicopters.
Yeah.
Because someone told you that's a good idea.
Yeah, and it was a great idea.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, then you're like, you know what? I need to have more check marks in my training folder. And so you decide you're going to go and do jump school, or was that mandatory as a helicopter pilot?
No, not mandatory at all for anyone. That's one of the rare things that the Army doesn't make people do, because you can't force someone that's afraid of heights, or, that's a whole other level of intensity.
Okay.
But I actually went to jump school when I was in ROTC. So before I contracted in ROTC, I was already enlisted military police.
Okay.
I was taking a intro to military history class, not knowing it was a ROTC indoctrination class.
Okay.
And you could get extra credit if you went with the ROTC cadets, rappelled off of the, science building or something.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, fuck yeah, I was already rappelling off shit anyway.
Yeah.
So went to do that. So
And would you consider yourself an outdoorsman?
Yeah, I'd say that.
Because we're gonna talk about your travel across country here in a little bit.
Okay,
but,
yeah.
But if someone were to ask me to describe Monty, besides someone who gets shit done, I would say Monty is he likes the outdoors, he likes nature, but I feel like you're also one with nature. And that could be just
Sounds very zen. Dude.
Yeah, and
very zen.
Yeah, I feel like for someone who does a lot of like high speed shit, I think you also seem very like chill about it. And like, I was talking to a mutual friend of ours the other day, saying you were coming to town. I was going to have you on the show, and I was telling them some of the stuff that you did in your past. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that about Monty. I was like, I think a lot of people don't know a lot about you because you're just kind of chill about it. You're like, oh, yeah, that's right. I was a pilot. I was in the Army for 10 plus years.
And what have you done for me lately? Yeah, this is 20, 30 years ago, but
not 30, but whatever.
So real quick on airborne school.
Yes.
I saw all these cadets running around with airborne wings. I'm like, where did all these kids get these airborne wings? And one of the cadres said, well, we send cadets to airborne school. I'm like, well, let's do this. And they're like, well, you need to contract with ROTC first. I'm like,
okay.
All right. How about you send me first and then I'll contract? I'm like, no, that's not how it works. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm out. Next day, the colonel, battalion commander called me and he's like, all right, listen, we'll send you to airborne school. Come back with your wings. You promised a contract with us. I'm like, 100%. So I think I was 19. In between my sophomore and junior year of college, went to airborne school.
Okay, so you do this on your, for lack of a better word, summer break, which is not a summer break because you're at fucking airborne school where, you know, it's extremely difficult school.
Airborne school is tough. It really, physically, mentally, it's a tough school. But now fast forward, you know, some of the things like you mentioned, I didn't take the easy route. I could have, sorry, all the lift pilots out there, but Black Hawk pilots, Chinook pilots, they got it pretty cushy. I mean, the training's not as difficult. The mission's not as difficult. They stay way back in the rear. They can bring the refrigerators out. I asked to fly an advanced helicopter. I wanted to fly recon. I wanted to fly attack. That's why I got the Kiowar Warrior.
Now, as a Kiowar Warrior, because as you know, I have some friends in 160th. Where does this helicopter fall into that for anyone listening?
I'll be really careful not to diminish anybody's roles or missions, but
and if something, by the way, if something you don't want to share, just don't fucking share.
Yeah, no, I just want to be clear that what we did is not what the 160th did, but they're little birds. They're Hughes 500s, I think, or MD 500s.
Yeah.
Their little birds are similar to my aircraft in size. I won't even say capability.
Because there's some crazy motherfuckers.
Oh, yeah. But we had weapon systems. They have weapons. So that's the equivalent. Like if somebody saw Black Hawk Down, when they're doing the gun runs on the buildings, that's kind of what we might do in some scenarios. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I wanted something that, you know, that was a little bit risky, that was a little bit out there, and reconnaissance and attack definitely was.
Do you do any time in South America or Central America?
No.
Okay. I know a couple buddies that are at 160th. They do a lot of operational shit down there.
Yeah.
And have been for years.
Some of my guys went to the 160th.
Yeah.
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 It's a great unit.
Yeah. Phenomenal. I've only heard good things about it for sure. So you're in the military. Are you doing martial arts at this point?
Not at all.
No.
Nothing.
Okay.
Nope. Oh, but to answer your question, so once I went to the 82nd Airborne, I was already airborne qualified.
Okay.
In order to command a unit there, you have to be jumpmaster qualified. Now,
okay, so for anyone listening who doesn't know what a jumpmaster is, share that,
The
please.
jumpmaster is in charge of making sure every jumper is equipped, safe, and ready, and exits the aircraft in a safe manner in the proper drop zone. Right. Basically.
So basically extremely trained on the procedural processes to make sure someone doesn't jump out and fucking kill himself.
And that's what makes that school so hard. So where airborne school is just physically and emotionally just demanding, jumpmaster school is mentally really, really difficult.
And how long was that school, if you remember?
It was only 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, 2 weeks long. But so I think, I don't remember all the numbers, but there is such a huge washout. It might have been 3 weeks. There was 3 phases. There's such a huge washout of each of the 3 phases that of the class I started with, only 4 of us graduated from that original start. All the others were, I forget what they call them, but they washed out of like phase 1.
Failures?
Yeah. Recycles.
Recycles. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, recycles.
Yeah. So, I mean, and nobody even gave you shit if you recycled out.
There's someone's listening to this that's recycled, and I just called them a failure.
Almost any jumpmaster listening to this was probably a recycle.
Okay.
I mean, that's how hard it was.
Right.
Really hard.
So, and you made it straight through?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Skin of my teeth, too. But the hardest part is the JMPI, Jumpmaster Parachute Inspection or Pre-Inspection. So
a lot of acronyms in the military.
Yeah. Once a jumper has all their gear on, they have to be fully inspected head to toe. And it is such a meticulous process to go through. And any hand movement that you miss in the inspection, any error in their rig that you miss, you fail. And you're timed. So you had to do, I think, 3 jumpers in 5 minutes. And that was the biggest washout, period. I mean, it was just so hard to get all 3 jumpers done in that amount of time and find everything that was wrong with their rigs.
And you went in about 1991, 92?
90.
1990. So, because if I remember correctly, you were in about 10 and a half years.
Yeah, right at 11 years.
Right at 11 years. So 9/11 happens. Obviously, we all know where we were that day.
Yeah.
9/11 happens, 2001. You're now out of the military 5 days?
6 days. I drove away from Fort Bragg September 5th, 2001.
And then you turned around.
Yeah. I mean, I was literally sitting on my in-laws' couch. We hadn't even unpacked anything. And, the world changed, and I sat there like everybody else staring at the TV.
Yeah.
Then there's a Black Hawk unit just east here of Indianapolis. September 12th, I drove to the Hawk unit, and I'm like, what do you guys need? They're like, we need a maintenance company commander. We need this company commander. And I'm like, all right, listen, I don't even have a house yet. I said, let me go find a house, get my wife settled and all that. And
that's right, because you're married.
Yeah.
And at that point, was your son born?
No.
Okay.
That's what makes this story really interesting.
Okay. Share it, man.
Because we'd been trying to start a family. We got married.
Was she happy that you got out at that point?
She was so supportive of anything.
Okay.
She would have supported staying in.
Yep.
She supported getting out. She was so happy to be back near her family because they're very family oriented.
And we can say she gets shit done too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So you have two people in the household getting shit done.
Look, any military wife is in the military. Whether they signed the document and swore an oath, they're in the military. When I was deployed training with my guys, she was in charge of the wives, whether she wanted to be or not.
Right.
So she supported me in everything.
Okay.
And I told her, I literally said, I'm going to the Hawk unit. I'm going to see what they need. I came back and I go, we're going to get a house. We're going to get everything moved in, get you settled. And I'm going to have to go down to Rucker, learn how to fly Black Hawks. And then, I'm getting deployed. And she's like, well, let me help pick out the house. Let's go.
Yeah. Right.
So it took about a month or so to get all that done. We get settled. I was sitting downstairs. I had my civilian job by now, sitting down at my office. And she came down and I said, all right, I'm going to go sign the paperwork and get this going. And she said, well, there's one thing you need to know. And she put a pregnancy test on the desk in front of me.
Shit, game changer.
Yeah, look at this beard. This is not the beard of a guy that went back in the military. So, that was it. No hesitation at all. Because I saw, and God love all the families out there that do it, but I saw my guys.
You knew that wasn't for you at that point.
I saw them struggle to be a father when we were gone so much, and I just was not going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you get out, and obviously you were trying to get back in. Then you realize you're now having a baby.
Yeah.
Which obviously now your son's 19 years old, so clearly that was a good decision for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Things worked out well.
And I've got a couple notes here because I want to make sure I touch on a few of the military things, but I think I did. 101st Airborne Division Cavalry Squadron, 82nd Airborne Division. You were a jumpmaster, a pilot. Extremely qualified, a bunch of shit. So you're living the dream of what you saw when you were 10 years old and saw Rambo. Regardless, obviously that's a movie, but like in reality, right?
Yeah.
So I think that gives hope to kids that are out there that watch a movie. And a movie's a movie, right? We all know that. But there's always something in that movie when you watch a military movie, whether it's Full Metal Jacket or Rambo, and you're like, I want to be like him, or I want to be like Top Gun.
Yeah.
I was talking about one of my buddies that was in the Navy about Top Gun. He was on an aircraft carrier, and he's like, I fucking hate that movie. I was like, of course you do.
All Navy guys hate that movie.
Of course you do.
Except the recruiters.
Yeah, exactly.
Recruiters fucking love it. So coming out, and they're like, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, the movie's out, and they're like, the line's out the door. It's like, oh yeah, just what's your MOS? Doesn't matter. You're going to join anyway.
Yeah. We're going to start you as a cook, but then maybe you can work your way up to a pilot.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah, sounds great. Where do I sign?
Exactly.
Fucking recruiters.
Yeah.
No, I had a good recruiter, but it's
you had the one.
Yeah, I was just saying it's pretty rare. You hear horror stories about recruiters. So anyone joining the military, I will say, make sure if you do talk to a recruiter, make sure you just get a second opinion and make sure you talk to someone that's already been in the military, that is maybe already got out of that specific unit you're trying to get into, so you can get some real facts. And I'm not saying recruiters, full disclosure, I'm not saying recruiters are out there lying and blowing smoke up your ass, but I will say a lot of recruiters are full of shit and are blowing smoke up your ass.
Well, and also you're a young kid, and you just don't know the questions.
You don't know the questions.
You're dealing with a professional salesperson. And you just got done jerking off to, porn.
Yeah.
So I would say I agree 100% with what you said, but even more so, take someone with you.
Yeah. Take
a former military person
adult
with you.
Yeah. I know you're an adult when you're 18 years old, but take someone with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because I had zero guidance. I had no idea what I was walking into. And
I feel like it kind of worked out pretty well.
It worked out, yes. Yeah. But
do you even remember your recruiter's name?
No.
Because, I find
he had a limp.
That's all I find when the recruiter is a shitty recruiter, someone like you talk to an old old shipmate of mine, right? And he's like, oh, I had recruit Petty Officer Johnson. I'm making this guy's name up, right? And I was like, how do you remember who your recruiter was? He was an asshole. He lied to me. But if you had a good recruiter, you don't remember his name because you're just like, yeah, I guess he did his job.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I don't remember my recruiter's name, and he did exactly. I did was everything I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right.
So here's how they do it. The Army has a petroleum specialist job, and they show pictures and videos of guys in their petroleum specialist. They're wearing white coats. They're like looking at beakers and shit. Do you know what a petroleum specialist is?
Someone who fills fuel into a.
So it's 10 degrees out in the middle of nowhere. There's a dark field. I'm coming in under night vision goggles. I land in the field, and two poor fuckers come running out of the tree line, dragging a hose, plugging it in, getting jet fuel sprayed all over themselves, filling up my tank. They pull it out. I lift off, rotor wash all over them. They run back in the woods, and they sit there and wait for the next one. That's a petroleum specialist.
That sounds like a fun job.
I felt so. I'd always try to have like snacks for them or something. I'd open the door like, oh, Jesus, it's cold out there. Here's a Snickers bar.
I can actually see you doing that.
I try. Oh, when I went to see the infantry guys, I always had, we called it pokey bait. Always had like Jolly Ranchers and shit like that. Because I'd land, they've been living in a ditch for days. They're dirty. They stink. I come out in my nice crisp flight suit, smelling of Old Spice, you know, like, what's up, guys? I got 8 hours of sleep last night. And they're like, we haven't slept in days.
Yeah. But like you said, you felt bad for them, so you try to give them a little bone.
Always. Yeah, always.
Martial arts.
Yeah.
When did that become part of your, I'll say, your curriculum in life?
So I've always been somewhat aggressive, like growing up. You know,
I would agree with that.
Yeah, you wrestle with your buddies, and you know, interestingly enough, I watched UFC 2 in college. Me and a bunch of my buddies, because one of the guys was a wrestler and heard about this wrestler that was going to be in this crazy fighting thing. So I'd always followed the UFC, and then when I got out of the military, there was this gaping void in my life of that just intensity, the competitiveness, the combativeness, the adrenaline. I mean, I went from flying helicopters, jumping out of planes and blowing shit up to putting on a suit. And at the time I was in pharmaceutical sales, putting on a suit.
Do we want to talk about pharmaceutical sales?
Fuck no, we don't.
Okay, cool.
I was
like, if anyone's listening and wants to hear about pharmaceutical sales, we can talk about that. But I find it very boring.
Watch a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm putting
on
good
money.
Suit. Putting on a suit, going to talk to these, you know, doctors who, you know, never fucked the prom queen. And I'd come home just pulling my hair out, right?
Right.
And I needed an outlet. And one of my good friends was in Chicago. He was in a UFC too. UFC is a great recruiting, you know, platform for all these martial arts places. And Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was in Chicago.
Gracie family.
Yeah, yeah. It's Carlson Sr. So I started under Carlson Gracie Sr. in Chicago, training with my buddy.
So you've been doing jiu-jitsu for a while.
Much longer than my belt would tell the story. But I've been a long time.
Yeah. I won't even ask what belt you are because I already know that you're a fucking badass. So well, I'm actually going to skip that. And anyone who's listening is just like, wonder what belt he is, what belt he is.
Yeah, but, keep wondering.
Yeah, keep wondering. Yeah, because like I said, I already know that you fuck shit up.
But it helped more so than I ever thought it would. Like jiu-jitsu, it's really life-changing. It gave me all the things that I needed, but it also helps you just in focus and just being comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
Right.
And it was really a game changer for me. So from jiu-jitsu, because of injuries, I would then, like if I was too injured to do jiu-jitsu, I would try Muay Thai, or I would try American boxing, or fuck judo, but I'd even do some judo. Ooh, that shit. Yeah. It's a young man's game.
It's a young man's game. So how long have overall, because I know you took a break. It was a couple years ago we were talking and you had some injuries and you weren't doing it. So how long in 20 years you've been doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a long time.
Yeah. I started pretty much when Aiden was born.
Yeah.
And that was 2002. So.
And how's your joints?
Non-existent.
Gonna come do stem cell?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're all pretty gumbified now. I mean, I literally have my orthopedic surgeon on speed dial. I'll text him and be like, I got a shoulder thing. He's like, just come see me Friday. Don't make an appointment.
Yeah, exactly. So you're in Indiana, and fast forward to you decide you want to just go on a road trip.
Yeah.
I'm jumping a little ahead here, but I think this is a pretty fascinating story.
Well, initially it was supposed to be more than a road trip. So I'd been telling Aiden, because
This is when he's getting ready to go to college. I forget how the story goes.
Well, I've been telling him for a while, since he was like 10. Because I'm the type of person, I get so bored. Like every couple of years, I need massive change in my life, be it hobbies, be it where I'm living, job, whatever it is. And so I was really getting the itch, and I told him, I said, as soon as you're done with high school, I'm out of here. And my plan was I wanted to go overseas, work in London or Singapore, see the world a little bit.
And what are you doing for work at this point?
Tech sales.
Tech sales.
Yeah. That's pretty much, I've been in that most of my civilian career.
And you like it?
No, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But it pays well.
Yeah.
So, but then,
Can I ask you if you like the company you work for? We probably shouldn't go down that road. We'll skip it. How about that? How about that? We'll skip it.
Yeah. No, this story is much better than work.
Yeah. But the good news is with that career, you're able to work remotely.
Yeah.
And you're able to work remotely pre-COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when COVID hit, I realized I wasn't going to be able to go overseas for a while.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why I thought of it, but I just decided, the market was so high, still is, for housing. I was living downtown Indy. We had a great house and didn't need it anymore. Aiden was going to college. I can work from wherever. So sold the house, moved him into college, and me and the 2 dogs, I have 2 labs, a chocolate and a white lab, and bought a camper and loaded them up, and we started tooling around the country in the camper.
And you make your own dog food for them, right? You did?
They eat raw. So sometimes I will go to Costco and just buy like bulk food.
Yeah. You've explained it to me, but I'd like to have you kind of explain it more. I know you were talking about going to Costco and getting the food, but so obviously your dog's extremely healthy.
Yeah.
Just a little hip issues now, but 13 years old. So talk to me about the raw dog food. Like, because you said you were doing this since the dog was a puppy.
Yeah.
And there's 2 dogs, but anyway.
I had a Weimaraner.
Yeah.
She was 11 when she died. And as any pet owner knows, that's such a hard thing to do. So when I got my chocolate lab, he was a puppy, and I'm like, I'm going to make sure I do everything as perfect as I can. And so as I do with everything, started researching
GSDing.
Yes. Yeah. just hours and hours.
So for the record, his fucking dog's GSD, people.
Yeah.
His dog's everyday GSD.
This dude gets after it.
Okay.
Still does.
Okay, continue.
And this was not very well known at all at the time. So I would just research dog foods and looking for the right ingredients, and they were all shit ingredients. And then there was always this little thing like raw dog food. And so I finally went down the path, and what it is, it's species specific diet. So what is whatever species supposed to eat? Cows eat grass. Goats.
Cows don't eat beef.
Cows don't eat beef. Cows aren't supposed to eat grain. Well, dogs come from wolves. What do wolves eat? Wild animals. They kill a rabbit, and they eat the entire rabbit from nose to tail.
So you're out there killing rabbits, feeding your dog?
Yeah, I grind them up and choke them to death. No. So the diet that canines should be eating should mimic what their ancestors have eaten for hundreds, thousands, or millions of years.
Okay.
And that is raw meat with bone and organs, and then some element of a vegetable, because the animals they kill would have, like rabbits would have grass or whatever it is they eat in their
nuts
guts
and seeds or some shit.
Yeah. And so early on, there was very few commercially produced raw dog foods out there. So I would go to Costco and I'd buy chicken legs, which always freak people out. Like, you can't give dogs chicken bones. You can't give dogs cooked chicken bones. But what the fuck do you think they do in the wild? Skin the chicken.
So the dog doesn't choke on the chicken bone?
No,
I've heard that my whole life.
He goes through a chicken leg.
That my whole life.
Cooked chicken bones.
Yeah, no, I just feel like I've heard that my whole life.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, what's the
well, when you
the producers got questions, I love it. So what the fuck's the difference between a cooked chicken bone and a not cooked one?
Take a raw chicken leg out and do this, and it bends. It's pliable. When you cook it, it becomes very brittle and it splinters. And that's the problem. They chew it and it splinters and it gets cut.
We could have a whole nother show about raw dog food.
I mean, I could do hours on it. But it freaks people out because I'd throw a chicken leg down there and he would go through that thing like butter. It'd be gone in 30 seconds.
Wow.
So a lot of his meals that I prepare at Costco would be a couple of chicken legs, a handful of beef, a little bit of salmon, and then I'd put some like kefir, usually goat's milk kefir.
Yeah, you had mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. And I would
you're
just
putting
prepare
like
their meals.
Vitamins and stuff, healthy.
Yeah, like spirulina sometimes or other supplements, fish oil, things like that. But now the commercial production has caught up significantly, and there's a lot of choices, some of them better than others, but it is a lot easier to just buy a bag of raw. It's frozen in little cubes and just pour that in their bowls. And so I have my other dog I rescued thanks to an ex-girlfriend of mine that found her online. I'm like, I don't need another dog. Thank God she found her. I love this dog. But she came to me. She's deaf. She's seizures. Like, she's a disaster. Her teeth, she was only 3 or 4 and her teeth were already like nasty. She is now like so healthy, clean teeth, no seizures.
She can see?
She could always see.
Oh, I thought you said she was blind.
She's deaf.
Oh, deaf. She can always see.
And she can see.
And she can see.
Still. It didn't bring her hearing back, but I mean, she is just the healthiest thing you would ever see.
That's amazing.
It's very, very impactful for their health.
So someone out there listening, would you recommend them going to Costco and getting all their raw foods? Or is there like a specific company out there that has a really good brand?
Depends on their budget.
Because this is not cheap way to take care of an animal.
If you're going to buy it commercially, it's not. So because a lot goes into it and making sure that they're clean ingredients. So what I have used for several years now commercially is called Northwest Naturals. Phenomenal company. Research them a ton. Look at the ingredients. I know it's good shit,
and they are not the sponsor of this podcast.
They are not. But if they want to sponsor me, because two 80-pound labs going through that gets pretty expensive. But when you do it yourself, like I did for years and years and years, the Costco method of just bulk food and putting it together, it's probably cheaper than buying a quality kibble, which I say that with hesitation because there really is no quality kibble. But the higher end kibbles are pretty expensive too, and Costco bulk meat is pretty affordable.
I might be putting you on the spot here, but I've got to ask because I don't know what a bag of dog food costs. I don't remember. I'm a dog lover. I used to have a dog. Unfortunately, he's in doggy heaven now. But
he rests in peace.
Yes, with all his other little doggy friends. So like, what does it cost like to feed the dog raw dog food for like a week, or does that not really? You probably have never calculated because you're like, that's just what I have to do.
So I've never calculated for 2 reasons. One, because I'm going to do it anyway.
Right.
And 2, I don't want to know.
Right. Okay.
Because then I might go, holy shit, I'm going back to Costco.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
It's expensive to do. Well, and I have 2 80-pound labs.
But it's the same thing as a human, right? Garbage in, garbage out.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, you as a extremely healthy person, you know, like I said, you don't drink much. You take very good care of your body, your mind, whether it's through physical fitness, jiu-jitsu, or the way you eat and what you ingest, what you put in your body. And so you've taken that mentality and made sure the animals that you care for live that clean living too.
And I think it's what I tell people. People used to make fun of me 10, 15 years ago, the way I eat. Like, oh, what's wrong with gluten? Oh, you don't like this, you don't like that. I'm like, now look, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Now you're on 5 different medications. Yeah. You're fat and you don't do anything. Well, that's the same with my 13-year-old lab. I see a 10-year-old lab who's been on kibble their whole life, and they look like they're on their deathbed.
Right.
And mine comes strolling in.
It's like McDonald's.
Yeah. Now is when it matters. Now I'm 50, and I'm still training with 20-year-olds. I'm still, sparring with UFC fighters.
Right.
I don't do well, but I'm still sparring with them, right? My lab is still going on walks, not 7-mile walks anymore, but he's still getting after it because he's always eaten this way. Now is when it matters.
Well, thank you. Thanks for clarifying that because I think it's interesting. For me, obviously I don't have a dog anymore, but if I think when people listen to this and go, raw dog food, to know that you were kind of doing it before the curve of these companies that were out there that are trying to recreate it, obviously, because they're trying to make sure that you have a healthy dog. But you were doing it because you're like I said, garbage in, garbage out, and you wanted to make sure your dogs got the same type of healthy living that you do for yourself.
Yeah. And for anyone listening, don't let your vet tell you, no, that's not healthy, because they're getting paid by guess who? The kibble manufacturers.
Yeah.
So
yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Just making sure the dogs can get shit done.
Dude, I have a 13-year-old. My chocolate lab is 13.
Oh wow.
And he's as sharp as a tack. His hips are a little sore, but I mean everything else, eyes, ears, nose, his brain, I mean he is 100%. Yeah. Because he's been eating that way since he was 7 weeks old. 7 weeks old.
Yeah. So you grabbed the dogs and you went and bought a trailer?
Yeah.
I bought just like a little camper?
It was an off-road camper.
An off-road camper.
My only criteria was I wanted it to feel like at least a studio apartment. A bedroom, kitchen, separate bathroom, separate shower. But this one you can also take off road. So I drug it up into the hills in northern Michigan. I've had it up in the mountains in Flagstaff. And
so you went from northern Michigan down to Flagstaff. For those of you who don't know, Flagstaff's in Arizona, and it's an absolute beautiful place.
Wonderful place. It was my first time there. There was a huge convention going on.
You want some more water?
There. I'm good. But yeah, kind of went up UP, Upper Peninsula, down around, came back through Indiana, then headed west, Tulsa, Albuquerque, stayed in Flagstaff for a while, hit this big convention there, which is all about off-roading, overlanding, and all that. Met a bunch of new people, friends, and whatnot.
Learning more about yourself at a little bit older age too.
Man, that kind of journey is a learning experience. It's a lot of fucking work too. I'll tell you that. You don't just pull over and go to sleep. There's always shit you got to do. It's kind of annoying, actually. And so by the time we left Flagstaff, and I've got a lot of friends, one of my closest friends is in Vegas. We left Flagstaff. I was going to hit Vegas, and I told him, I'm going to stay for a few weeks, man. I need a break.
This is in Vegas.
Yeah. And then, so we stayed at a campground there, the Oasis.
Ooh.
It is exactly what you would picture.
Yeah, I was like, I have a visual.
A Vegas campground to be. It was gorgeous, neon lights everywhere. Like everything was just top notch. It was wonderful. And then we were there.
Slot machines?
I'm sure there were in the main building. We were there for a few weeks, and told my buddy.
And you say we? That's you and
me and the dogs.
Yeah,
yeah. I always say that. And people are like, "Who are you with?" I'm like, "My dogs." Hello.
Because your son's at school right now.
Yeah, he's in college now.
Yeah.
And I told my buddy, I said, I'm still not ready to get back in that camper. I might find a little apartment. We may stay for a few months. And from the apartment, now we're in a house. We got this amazing house, single story, so my chocolate lab can get in and out easily, in a huge backyard to put the camper. And yeah, I think we've thrown down some roots. We're going to stay there for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're still working for the same company, obviously.
Yep.
And you picked back up martial arts.
Yes.
From my understanding.
I mean, what are you going to do in Vegas, right?
Right. Because you're not a big drinker.
No.
Yeah. You eat and I like to say when I would describe you as a drinker or an eater, you live a clean lifestyle.
I try to.
Yeah. I mean, I've had several drinks with you in the past, but
yeah,
I feel like it's never really in excess.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're always like, you know what? I got responsibilities tomorrow. I got to make sure I get shit done. I got to train. I got to do this.
And dude, the older we get, the harder it gets. And you know, I was a partier and it was just really
we all were
in
at
the way
one
of my
point.
goals.
Yeah.
Like one of the biggest training days for jiu-jitsu is Saturday because you got this huge open mat and you can spend hours there training. And
is this kind of everywhere in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
And you know, if you go out Friday night as a 40-something and now I'm 50, there's no way you're training.
Are you 50
Saturday.
now?
Just turned 50 in April. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hit Vegas. And I'm like, of course I have to train again. They got the top mixed martial arts school, in my opinion, in the world. Syndicate Mixed Martial Arts is right there. And yeah, so as soon as I landed, I
wonder if that's where my buddy Galbraith is training at.
Maybe.
Remember I showed you his house out there?
Yes.
So because he was doing jiu-jitsu for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a top school. So as soon as I got there, I wanted to establish my routine, my new routine in a new place, and that included jiu-jitsu. So got that into my routine.
I've got to connect. I got to connect you with him. The two of you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's got two fake hips now. I guess they're not fake. They're just not his.
Yeah.
Titanium hips.
It happens.
But yeah, he still does CrossFit like every single day. He's retired 25 years or 30 years? I should know that, but he did a bunch of years. He retired, and he went to he went to Vegas, and I think the same thing happened. He was visiting a couple people, and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna fucking stay.
People don't realize what an amazing place it is
once you leave the Strip. Yeah,
once you get the Strip out of your mind, and I tell people, like, people that live in Orlando don't go to Disney World every day. Sometimes they never go to Disney World, and as I now call myself a Vegas local. Yeah. We'll go to the Strip maybe once a month if we want.
And it's different prices for locals too.
A lot of it is, yeah. As soon as I got my driver's license, I realized that. I don't have to pay for parking places. Yeah. But you don't have to go to the Strip because there's all these pockets of communities around it with your local bars and restaurants and your stores, and you have everything you need. But then people come in to visit, you have the Strip. When Aiden comes, we go see Penn and Teller. We go see Absinthe. We go to Best Friend, Korean barbecue. It's there if you need it, when you want it. We go to concerts sometimes. Any concert that ever happens in the world is going to be in Vegas.
Yeah.
So
100%.
It's a great place to live.
Yeah.
I love it.
And you've been there now for a few months.
Almost a year, actually.
Has it been
I got
that
there
long?
in September.
Shit, time flies by.
You're telling me, man.
You've been there almost a year?
Well, September will be a year. So
Wow. Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's so crazy.
If you wouldn't have just said that, I was just going to say, well, I just did say it.
Yeah.
Months.
And, you know, it's nice being back in Indiana. Missed the people.
Right.
Great seeing friends and family, but I'm missing Vegas. I'm missing my house out there
Yeah.
and the routine. And
Well, and like I said, I
training.
appreciate you making the trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know you got a bunch of people to see and all that stuff, but making this a priority, I think, was pretty cool.
100%.
So the message to kids out there, because obviously you have a 19-year-old kid and you've done a great job co-parenting, but raising your child. You know, go in the military, get an education, go in the blue collar work world. What is your find your groove? And
Yes, and yes.
yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, the first things I started telling Aiden was, you don't have to go to college just because everyone says you want to go to college. So
He wants to be an actor, right?
Yeah.
Or in something.
Yeah, he's in media, and he did quite a bit of acting, and now he's really into the writing, the screenplay writing, and directing and things like that.
Might have to hook him up with someone I know. Justin's back there shaking his head. He's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. No, I mean, the military is a great place.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do.
Any regrets about you going in the military?
Oh my God, it has given me everything that I have in
I'd agree with
my
that.
life. 100%.
I talked to so many people, and that's exactly what they say.
But I also know so many people that it's a good thing they didn't go in, because it's not for them.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have made it, and they needed whatever path it is that they took in their
Right.
lives.
Everyone has a different journey.
Yeah.
And your journey's led
They're all pussies, but
Yeah. And your journey's led you out to Vegas. You're doing martial arts again. You're doing jiu-jitsu.
yeah. Now, to be clear, I'm a hobbyist.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, are you training to compete anymore, or no?
I want to compete one more time.
Okay,
One more time.
always one more time, right?
Well, and because now I'm in Vegas, I can actually. So the problem with tournaments around here is they're generally small, and I was competing.
when you
a
say
lot-
around here, meaning in Indiana.
yeah, where I was training primarily.
Yeah.
And I was in my 40s going to these tournaments, and a lot of times there was no other 40-year-olds in my bracket, so then I get dropped down to the 30s. And
So you kick the shit out of 30-year-olds, but then the 20-year-olds give you a fight.
there were tournaments where I did have to drop down to the 20s, and
Ooh. Bodies are
it's
different.
It's so different.
Yeah.
Yeah. They say every 10 years is a belt too. So just because of the strength and athleticism and everything.
Right.
So I feel like if I do one more tournament, I do it in Vegas, I can find guys my size, my age, my skill level, and really see kind of where I am in this hobby of mine. And I always make that clear. Like I equate it to golf. Like golfers, they play, 9 holes a couple nights a week, 18 on the weekend, maybe play a couple tournaments a year, shooting them around 90. I shoot around 90 in jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
A couple nights a week, I mean, there are absolute.
Anyone that's a golfer's
killers.
listening, it's like, I think I'm going to do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, right. Don't do it. But there are absolute killers at the school I'm at.
Yeah.
And it's fun to roll with them.
What's the name of the school? Can you tell?
Syndicate.
Syndicate.
Yeah, Syndicate Mixed Martial Arts.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that a Gracie school or?
No, it's owned by Big John Wood.
Okay.
Lots of pro fighters there, but lots of like recreational too. So you've got in any given jiu-jitsu class, there's lawyers and accountants, there's construction workers and bartenders and me, and there's Filthy Tom Lawler, former UFC fighter, and there's female UFC fighters, and any given day you can roll with. Rolling is when you spar.
Yeah, right.
With absolutely any skill level you want, all the way up to the top UFC people.
It's
a very unique experience. Yeah.
And as soon as you got out to Vegas, you started doing jiu-jitsu again.
Yeah. That's when after 2 years off.
So you took a 2-year hiatus.
Oh yeah.
How was day one going back?
It wasn't day two. Or day one, it was day two. Yeah. That's what hurt. It comes back to you. Like riding a bike.
You go to sit down in the bathroom and you're like, my fucking legs don't.
Oh, I just try to get out of bed.
Yeah.
It was hard, but
telling you, got to check out this fucking stem cell shit, man.
I am 100% going.
I'm going to give you all that info.
Yeah.
You go see my doctor down in Panama.
Absolutely.
For the record, it's not Panama, Florida. No, that's good. Okay, let me see what else I got in here that I want to make sure I don't miss. Boom, boom, boom. Martial arts, still kicking ass in it. So your son's in college, and we were talking about him earlier. Where does your wife... I'm sorry, your ex-wife live now?
She's in Fortville,
So
which
Indiana,
is just northeast of Indianapolis. Yeah.
and your son's going to school in Indiana, and it's a possibility he's going to potentially go out to L.A.
I mean,
maybe.
that's where his interest should lead him.
Right.
So his mom and I had no idea why, but he picked English as a major when he went in.
Right.
His thinking was he's a phenomenal writer, and he wanted to hone his skills there to
Right.
be able to take that into, filmmaking, game making, all of that. And he quickly realized that that's not what an English major is. So he just changed it to the media school, and he does a much better job explaining it than I, but
Understandable.
basically like the big screen and the little screen, production, direction, writing, and all of that for, film, TV.
What do you think, Justin? Makes sense? He's on the right path.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if he's going to pursue that, it's going to take him west.
Right.
And if he does move west, I'll stay in Vegas and support him from there, and we'll see.
Does
what
he have the
happens.
same drive you do? Do you think what, it's interesting because people ask me if my brother and I are similar. I think we're very similar in a lot of ways, but we're also different. Obviously, I don't have any children, you know that. But do you think he follows both of your footsteps? Because obviously, being a extreme athlete, and now you're 50 years old, and you're still competing at a pretty high level as a human. Do you think him as a 19-year-old, that's just been instilled into his brain, whether he's actually competing in martial arts or in athletics, but even him when he's trying to do something for this film degree, and is he competitive where he's like, you know what, I need that A, I'm going after it, I want to be the most successful person in the room? Does he get that from both of you?
I don't know. So it's a generational thing. It's hard to explain, but as a dad, I kind of see it, and a lot of people don't. The drive and determination and effort that his generation puts in is behind the scenes a lot. So people are always like, oh, kids, they're always just gaming. There's so much more to what they're doing than just gaming. They're building networks. They're building platforms with which to do the gaming. And from that, he is getting the experience of writing games, designing games, making that into short films, those short films into bigger films. So to answer your question, I think it's there. I don't know where he got it.
I don't even remember the question.
Yeah, his drive.
His drive, that's right.
Yeah, because a normal, someone our age might look at him and go, what a lazy kid. He's just gaming all day. But then he'll show me some of the shit he's doing and some of the artwork that comes out of the networks he's building there.
Right.
So he has a buddy that he met in college named Connor. And Connor loves the behind the camera stuff. He likes working the cameras. He likes the editing of whatever it is they're doing. Aiden likes writing the stories, directing them, and being in front of the camera. And Connor came to him one day and said, hey, there's this workshop this weekend. We can actually get a college credit for it. Do you want to do it? They're like, okay. So they show up Saturday. They're basically given a $100,000 camera, broad parameters with which to work within, and told show up tomorrow with your finished product.
24 hours.
24 hours. So Aiden wrote the story. They scouted locations. Connor determined the camera angles and shots and all of that.
This is at like 18, 19 years old. He's
Yeah.
got a $100,000 piece of equipment.
Yeah.
'Cause
And
I know how much equipment costs.
yeah. And they filmed the thing. Connor edited it, and they turned it in the next day. And it wasn't a grade thing.
Yeah.
It was just a project thing.
Yeah.
And I thought it was absolutely amazing.
Because you're his dad, or was it
Yes,
legit? Yeah.
But also knowing, the parameters with which they had to work in.
Right.
Like they stayed up all night. They did an all-nighter Saturday to put it all together so it would be done and complete. So yeah, the drive and motivation is there. Sometimes it's overt in a situation like that, but so many times I'll just see him drawing. Like we'll be driving to Chicago,
Right.
and he's over there just sketching ideas and
Right.
making comic books and things like that. So yeah, it's there. He, not so much on the athletic side. I mean, he took martial arts to a certain level,
Right.
and much like I did with endurance sports, once I turned 16 and could drive and realized that there were girls out there,
Yeah.
that kind of fell off a little. And
Right. So again, going back to you being an everyday GSD person and your ex-wife also being an everyday GSD person, that did pass down to him.
yeah,
And you're only child, right?
yep,
Yeah. So that's passed down to him where he's seeing his dad and his mom, especially being divorced, where he's got to live with both of you. One wasn't, a lazy piece of shit, and the other one was a go-getter. Right. You both got after it. So here you have this kid that's seeing this and is, even though, as you said, it's a generational thing, but it sounds like he's taken that energy and focus to the path that he wants.
Yep.
And he's getting shit done in that arena.
He's getting after it for sure. Yeah. And to mention his mom, she's got 3 businesses now that she's opened up in the Fortville area. Yeah.
Only 3, huh?
Only 3. Yeah. Just kind of slacking. And we co-parented. So I was one of my happy places. If I'm stressed, I'll just go to the bookstore. Okay. Wander the aisles. I love the smell. I'll pick up different books. I'll buy books I know I'll never read.
You like the smell of the bookstore?
Oh, yeah. Into a bookstore? It's amazing.
Yeah, man.
So I was in a bookstore.
I go there and I sign my book.
Yeah. I'll buy your book. So I go there and I'm just wandering the aisles and she calls. And she's like, hey, I had an idea. Do you have a minute? And I'm like, yeah. And she said, we are doing such a great job, best we can, raising our son. He doesn't feel any of the tension that we ever had between us. We co-parent and etc. She said, but all the books written on divorce are by PhD this and psychiatrists that. She said, what if we wrote a book like from real people? And I go, I'm standing in a bookstore right now. So I went over to the section. I go, you're right. There's like 4 books here, and they're all written by doctors who think they know everything.
So is that your next project?
I think it should be. Yeah, 100%.
I can hook you up with a great guy, Robert Conlon.
Okay.
He's he's the one that put my book together. Ghostwriter, co-author, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
He's good.
What's your book?
Back to Bulletproof, A Warrior's Tactical Guide to Success.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. I can't believe you don't know that, man.
No, you didn't give me a copy. So. Yeah. I go to Vegas and everybody gets all these delusions of grandeur. Come on.
Yeah. I'll make sure I give you one.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'll give you
a signed copy, too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, man. I think I do have a little gift for you. Well, before I let you go,
it better not be your book.
That'd be funny, right? No, just a little.
Oh, nice.
GI Joe green, everyday GSD shirt. Obviously, American flag. But you are a true everyday GSD guy, so I want you to have this, and I know you'll wear it with pride. And I want to thank
nice ones too.
Oh hell yeah, man! I don't buy anything. I don't
shit.
No, I'm not buying that stuff. Cheap shit. But you know what? For all the listeners out there, Monty, thank you for coming on the show. Former military, helicopter pilot, straight up badass. I won't call you Rambo because Rambo, you were a little kid when you saw Rambo, but the modern day Rambo, and you've raised an amazing kid. You got a great story. And I'm excited for people to listen and hear about it. So thanks for coming on the show, brother. And I want you to have a safe trip back to Vegas. And love to have you back on the show sometime.
Darin, really appreciate the invite. And thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
All right. Safe travels, brother.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.